All right, welcome to the Erie Music History Podcast. I am Chip Shell, your host, and our guest today was quite a prodigy on piano when he was young, and I'm sure that came from having a mom who was one of the best piano teachers in town. After moving away from Erie in the late 70s for a sound engineering job that would take him on the road with everyone from the Beach Boys to Eric Clapton, and he even had a brush with the Pope. He returned to Erie, and these days he can be found playing bass for Matty B and the Dirty Pickles. So Paul Sontheimer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pull that right up there. You're good. And so am I right in saying that was all that right?
You
so
got
far?
it all.
All right.
Correct.
Cool.
Correctamundo.
I usually ask people ahead of time, I ask them, hey, did your parents support your musical interests, or did you come from a musical family? And I mean, your parents met because of music, right? I mean,
That's correct. Absolutely.
How tell everybody about that.
My father was taking piano lessons from my mother.
Yeah.
And that's how they met.
That's awesome.
Right after the war.
Wow. And your mom was quite an accomplished piano teacher. I mean, she had a BA in it. She went to school for it.
That's correct. She was teaching for the Howard Julian Piano Studios, and they had multiple studios around town.
Oh. Where at? Do you remember?
There was the main one was at his residence on West 5th Street. There was another one right on the corner of 26th and Raspberry, and that's mainly where my mom taught out of.
Okay.
But then my dad built the house on Glenwood Park Avenue, and then that's when she started teaching out of there.
Oh, okay.
But still working associated with Howard Julian.
Yeah.
And we would do recitals. They would do recitals at the History Museum on 6th Street, West 6th.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
In that round rotunda part of that museum, there was a grand piano in there, and they would do recitals once a month.
Wow.
So that was my introduction to okay.
I mean, so did you even have a choice, or was it?
That's a no.
Piano? Yeah, right. Only child, or
only?
So
yes.
Only child. You're taking piano.
This is it.
Yeah,
this is all I'm going to know.
And Dad obviously was a baker with a name like Sontheimer, right?
Right.
But not at Sontheimer's Bakery, at Mariella Pastries.
Mariella,
right?
The cousins still have the one on Sterretania.
Oh, really? Okay.
That was the other half of the family.
Ah, okay.
My grandfather and his brother split. They had, our side of the family had Paramount Pastries on West 29th Street, a few blocks away from 31st and Cherry, which was the other half of the family.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And then, that's how it all split up.
No interest in becoming a baker?
No. Sorry.
So you followed Mom's path.
I burnt my hands a few times when I was younger. Oh, I'm going to grab a cookie off this hot pan. And I'm like, no, I don't think I'd like this. So.
Well, obviously what you did like was piano, and you took to it, because everything I found was, you getting, in 1969, I find you getting a certificate for completing 4 years of piano, which was equivalent to 6 college credits. In 69, you were early teens? How old were you in 69?
Oh, what? 12?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, what was piano like for you when you were young? How many days a week? Well, practice.
It was fairly constant.
Yeah.
5 days, every day, really, every day except maybe Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. And all memorized, right?
Okay.
For the most part.
Yeah.
But see, then that's where the cello came in.
Yeah.
And so when I was, about 10,
okay,
68, I picked up the cello.
Yeah, I saw some things listing you as cello too, and I thought
that's where I got into the Junior Philharmonic.
Oh, okay, you played in Junior.
Yeah, well, when Lloyd Johns was still the teacher, leader at McDowell in the music department.
Yeah,
it was pushing it, because his daughter Peggy also played cello.
Oh,
so we became good friends. It was good.
But were you taking cello lessons?
Yes.
At the same time as you were taking piano lessons?
I gradually stopped the piano.
Okay.
My mom was like, okay, here's the deal. You want to do this now, or do you want to do this? It says, I want to try this. And she let me. So
wow.
It was like, okay, this is great.
So you do that from 14 through high school?
Yep. Till the end of high school. Where I got out.
How does the bass come in? Is that just...
That came in around 72.
Okay.
14. So just, I don't know. I guess it was just
There's got to be a story.
A fingering thing.
The cello wasn't cool enough?
Oh, it was working, but then actually it was Lloyd Johns that said, hey, we need, would you be interested in picking up a bass to play with the, what do they call those?
Like
jazz. It's not a jazz band.
Yeah, but something like that, show band or whatever.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try it.
Oh.
And next I went down to Markham's and, what the heck's it?
Keith Fishecko was probably...
Well, he was just starting there.
Yeah, right.
And I can't remember the older fella. Anyway, Epiphone, two Gibson 210s, and away we go, right?
Oh, you had an Epiphone bass.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Do you remember your first... You don't still have it?
No.
Okay.
Hollow body.
Do you wish you did?
Actually, I kind of do.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it was a pretty funky sounding unit.
Yeah. I mean, back then, I'm sure everything was a little funky sounding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't really step up to an Ampeg or anything like that for a few years. But anyways, the cello, matter of fact, I still have it. And I have a pickup on it. And I'm thinking about incorporating it into some
new stuff.
Things.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you still play cello because it's not...
I actually, because of the tuning in being in fifths instead of fourths, it's
totally different.
If I take the fingering that I would normally use on a bass and just mirror it to the cello, it's a completely different sound.
Is it?
Vibe, feel, everything. That's cool.
Yeah. And how about piano? Do you play any piano?
Not much.
No?
Not much anymore.
Even over the years, you just kind of...
Yeah. I mean, I can sit down and plunk out a couple of tunes, I can't do what I used to do with my left hand.
Yeah.
I mean, the left hand, when you lose the left hand, then it's a whole different thing.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so, when you talked about playing in the band at McDowell, I found something that you were playing bass. This is the first mention I heard of you playing bass in 74 at a musical drama called Question at McDowell. And another local guy who's still around playing these days, Jeff Gibbons, great trumpet player, he was playing with you at the time in that band. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but him and I, we when we do see each other, we have a good time.
Yeah. Jeff still plays around town, and
his sister Val was played violin.
Oh, really?
Yep, that's another one of the orchestra things.
His brother Paul and I graduated together, and great photographer. Yeah. Okay, so you graduate from McDowell in 75. You're a bass player now. And you said to me when you came in, like, I didn't play in a lot of bands in Erie. I mean, talk about who you were jamming with or what you were doing before you disappear and go off to Texas.
Really, I mean, there was a couple of guys I played with. Caustics, Dave and Doug Caustic. They went to McDowell.
Okay.
Dave was an accomplished guitar player, and that's who was the guitar player in this band, Astaroth, that had Kevin Sadowski.
Oh, okay.
Craig Sundberg on drums, Dave Caustic on guitar, and Gail Gathers. She was the vocalist.
Yeah.
And that was the prog band. Even Keith. Before Keith passed away, we were doing a Celebrate Erie show, and I was working for Raven, and he come up on the riser. He's like, "Yep, nothing like a little old Astaroth to get you moving in the morning." He remembers that stuff.
Astaroth. How did you spell that?
Astaroth.
Okay, all right.
It was Kevin's thing. It was like a darker side of life thing. Okay. He was into that,
and it was prog.
Yeah, we played Carnival 9, Tarkus, all this stuff.
You played Tarkus. Who wants to sit and listen? I mean, I had to take
him
forever to play. Tarkus is an ELP tune that's a deep cut, if anything. Yeah, I mean,
we did a show out at Edinburgh in the soccer field way back then in '76. Yeah, and Jim Sadowski, Kevin's brother.
Yeah,
he had him and another fella, John Mariella. Another McDowell.
Yeah.
They went in and bought a JBL, a bunch of 45, 50s, and all these bins. And he actually had a store. John Ford was part of that too. Across from the Shaggy Dog, it was called DC Sound.
Okay, all right. And these were the big
those big
cabinets.
things that you used to probably see at the field house.
Yeah,
those
right.
big double 15s with the big flares
Yeah,
on them and
right,
stuff. Yeah,
right.
They had a bunch of that. So anyway, he bought those, and we did a show out at behind the soccer field in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And set all this stuff up, and we had a blast.
I bet. And you're playing bass.
Yeah, I'm doing the bass.
I mean, that's some, difficult stuff. I mean,
Dave was really good on guitar. And then
Yeah.
we did we did Starship Trooper and all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
Keith would always, every time I would see him, he would give me one of these, you know?
yeah, you always say, I remember those days.
Yeah.
Was he just hanging out with you guys or coming to see those shows? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because Keith was just as good he could play all that stuff.
Oh, I
too.
bet. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It was a blast,
I
man.
bet. How long did that last?
Only 2 years.
Oh,
that was it. That's when I left town.
Oh, okay. So you played with those guys for 2 years. That's a long time. Especially playing Greg Lake and Christopher Squire bass lines. That wasn't easy stuff.
Then I went up to D. Fiore's and bought a Rickenbacker, blah, blah, blah.
Just like, yeah.
Okay, got to have this.
Right.
Bought a 4520 like Greg Lake used to use.
Nice.
I'm going to haul around this thing that weighs 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Are you going to go see the ELP thing that's going on at the Warner?
I don't know.
No?
Who's is that Carl by himself?
It's Carl by himself, obviously, but he has 2 other guys that are musicians with him, and then they play along live to an actual concert that is being broadcast on each side of the screen. So you see Greg and Keith on each side, and then these guys are playing right along with it in time. So it looks like they're all playing together.
Okay. Yeah.
But it should be pretty cool.
Kind of what the Philharmonic's doing with the movie thing.
Oh yeah, like the Star Wars
It's
stuff.
Sort of.
Yeah, except there's actual musicians right there doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The Philharmonic, we mentioned the Warner, things like that.
Yeah.
Like we're migrating into what your job and what your life then became. Like, how did you get into being a sound engineer? Is that even the right term?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could say, well, we'll just call it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So he hands me a Showco, which is the company you work for, audio engineer. So you leave town in 79?
78.
78, and you go to Dallas?
Dallas.
How? How do you even land this job?
Right before I left, I was doing some carpentry work here.
Okay.
I got into that, and the money wasn't there. This is so that, 77 recession, things aren't that great, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm out. Texas is paying $7 an hour. Back then, that was huge.
For a carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I'll go down there. So I start working down. And this is 78, early April of 78. Work all summer down there. September rolls around. I'm looking through the paper, jobs.
Yeah.
When you could still find a job in a newspaper.
Yeah, right. Well, you can still hold a newspaper. Yeah.
There's an ad from this company for carpenter.
Okay, for Showco.
In their wood shop. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sign here. Okay. What do I do? Hey, there's some work trunks that just came back in off the truck from the Stones tour. Fix all these.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
So it was all, Showco at that time was all concert, PA reinforcement.
It was a production. It was a full service production company.
Okay. All right.
They had a metal shop.
Oh.
That they fabricated all their own trussing. They built stage sets. They did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Steve Jander ran the lasers. They had a laser department.
In 78, 79, that's...
Weather Report. They did the lasers for the Weather Report tour in 78.
All right.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it was a full-service company.
Okay.
And they had their own trucks. They had a fleet of Ford 9000s.
Which are semis, I take it.
Right.
Yeah.
Cab-overs, but
Okay.
at that time. Yeah, pretty much everything. I mean, you could call up, somebody could call that number and say, hey, I need a stage set. Can you design a stage set? Yeah. they built the Bee Gees set for the '79 tour.
Okay.
I worked on that.
Yeah. Yeah, like this card, this pass that you hand me here says audio engineer. It doesn't say carpenter. So at some point, what happens?
After Christmas of '78 rolls into '79, February rolls around, and the fella that was running the sound, he was the department manager for the sound division. He came into the shop and said, "What do you know about audio?" I used to play in a band, okay? I know how to plug in a 1/4-inch cable. Apparently I was good enough.
Evidently that was, okay, great.
I think he wanted more of my expertise fixing stuff on a tour out on the road, because the Bee Gees, that big set that we built, we had to go out on the road with that set and maintain it.
Ah, yeah.
From night to night to night.
Right. And at this point, you had not gone on the road. You were just working at the headquarters or whatever it was.
So that was it. And it was like, okay. And I transitioned from building boxes, repairing them, to now I'm stuffing them with
wiring,
tons of JBLs.
Speakers.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like truckloads full of these things. And we were making a transition from a folded horn system to that square refrigerator box system. So,
and I'll post some of those pictures that he has for me, so you know what we're talking about. But they're giant.
Yeah.
The refrigerators were as big as a refrigerator. They weigh about 400 some pounds. There's speakers that hang from the ceiling.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Clare Brothers, they have the same type of thing, only instead of a low and high box, their S4 system was all one box.
Okay. All right.
But they were heavy as heck.
So Clare eventually buys Showco, but
that
not
was
until
in 2000.
Yeah, right. So you stay there, and from then on, is it
from
life
then
on
on,
the road?
I'm on the road.
That's
from
it.
From then on.
And so
from 79 till 93.
Okay. And what was your first road trip, and who was the band, and what were you doing?
First night.
I'm sure you've been asked this 1,000 times.
Get on a plane. It was Love Field at the time.
In Dallas.
Columbia, South Carolina. Take a cab. Beach Boys. Okay.
What do you say, oh, man, for?
Oh, man. These guys.
Were you not a Beach Boys fan, or?
Actually, I became one later.
Okay. All right.
After, but first impression, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
sure.
oh, no, I never listened to this stuff.
Yeah, right. I gotcha, yeah.
But anyway, the first night, and these guys are like, oh, FNG.
You can swear on it.
Yeah. Like a new guy. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Oh, what's he going to do? You load the truck. How do I load the truck? You put all the black boxes in the big white trailer, jump to it. Oh, really?
So it
Thanks.
was
It's like, okay, yeah, sure, Yankee.
Yeah, right.
These guys are all in
That's
Texas.
Right. Yeah, right.
First, so I'm in the truck, loading the truck. Boom. Drop a 75-pound floor monitor right on my foot. First night. We're good. Oh, yeah, by the way, there's no bus, right? It's a Chevy C30 box truck with bunks in it. So
that has no windows in it.
No. And when the AC breaks down, it's hell.
So how many guys are in the back?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minimum.
And so now you're
actually 7 with the rigger.
You're on tour with the Beach Boys, traveling in a box truck.
So the first night I had my foot
it's just fancy stuff
stuck in the cold air vent, hoping the swelling would go down.
Oh, right.
So you want to be on the road,
yeah,
huh?
I was going to say, this is the fancy life of living on the road, yeah.
This isn't what I thought. Anyway, yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, yeah, you drive 500 miles, so I had to drive that the first night.
Right.
And we get to the gig, and then they all wake up, go in, start. I get about 2 hours sleep, then I get up, and the monitor guy for the Beach Boys, he was real nice. Mark Podany, he's on Facebook. I just got on Facebook, so I'm just starting to reconnect with all these guys.
Right.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He really helped me out a lot. He was really understanding.
And explain to folks, like, how early are you getting to a stadium to set up? And I mean, when you say we woke up and went there, like how
I was done loading the truck at, what would that be? Between midnight and 1.
So after the show.
Yeah.
But before the show, setup-wise, how many hours before are you there?
Oh, we're there as soon as we can.
Get
Back
into the
then,
building.
yeah, we would get there as soon as we could. But there was always a stage call, a load-in for lights first, or rigging, depending on the building.
Okay, all right.
That particular tour was mostly ground stack PA, so we didn't have to worry about
Hang
rigging.
stuff, right.
But there were, and the lights were on genie lifts,
Okay, all right.
so that wasn't too bad.
And this is late 70s, you said,
Late
right?
70s, yeah.
Were you ever a rigger?
No,
No?
I did ground. I helped them do
Okay.
ground rigging
Okay.
when it. Yeah, I never climbed.
Not climbing.
I'm not climbing.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a stain on the concrete in Jackson, Mississippi,
Really?
where a
Wow.
guy on a Dylan tour didn't make it.
Wow.
So it's like,
All right.
no, that's enough of this.
Were there any, aside from the monitor on the foot, I'm sure there were mishaps over the years. I think John Farr had even told us some in his, about leaving some stuff behind or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah. That's right.
where he kind of got fired,
Hey,
You're young. You're in your early 20s. You're going to mess up.
it happens.
What happened? Anything you remember that stands out?
I got hit on I was doing where was that? Birmingham, England.
Oh, Birmingham, England. Okay.
Yeah. Fella. I was a 2-man. We were doing Wishbone Ash.
Okay.
And I was doing monitors for them. And I was loading the truck, showing the guys what to do. And one of those big the dollies for one of those refrigerator cabinets, the sessions latch was broke, and the whole thing come off, and it nailed me right on top of the head. It dropped me to my knees. I saw stars.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm feeling this warm.
Oh, no.
Yeah, get him out of here. So that was, I still have that
As he feels his
scar.
head. Yeah.
From that. Oh yeah.
Wow.
That hurt.
Well, that may be the worst thing. That may not be too
that
bad,
was probably the worst thing, other than the splinters and stuff, the
Right.
normal stuff here.
Did your job evolve over the years from?
Yes, from just that was those 79 and 80 were mainly just, they call it the third man.
Okay.
There's a front of house guy, there's a monitor guy, and then there's a stage. I was a stage guy.
Okay.
So I mic'd it all up.
Right.
Set up the PA, plugged all that in, and mic'd up the stage.
Okay.
The monitor guy would set up his console and run all his speaker cables for all his monitors.
Okay.
The front of house guy would everybody wanted to be a front of house guy because all you had to do was set up the console, run the snake, and plug it in.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, but after a couple of years of that, and then after that, Beach Boys, Willie Nelson, that was another one. That was good. Those
Early
guys,
one. Okay.
yeah. It's still driving the Chevy box van down in Florida when the AC broke down, and a couple of people flipped out and took some mic stands to the side of the box and just punctured it because the little frustration.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see
it's like
that.
the company kind of went, okay, we better get another one out there.
Right. Yeah.
But after that, I went out with Rufus and Shaka Khan, and
did you have a choice of who you would go with, or they just assigned you and said, okay?
They assigned everybody.
Okay, and now you're going. They just tell you be on a flight or wherever you're going to go.
I'm usually with the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
We're in a group.
Yeah,
okay?
gotcha.
That was the first tour that had a bus. So, okay. By now, I'm starting to learn how to mix on the monitor board.
Yeah.
And I did the monitors for the two opening acts, Louis Johnson, Brothers Johnson.
Oh, the Brothers Johnson. Yeah.
And Narada Michael Walden used to play with John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu.
Okay.
That was but the band, Shaka Khan's band, excellent.
Yeah.
But the monitor system, it was pretty intense. Even though it was only 8 mixes back then, 2 of the 8 we had these speakers called M4s, and they were 4-way boxes.
Okay.
And we flew one on each corner of the downstage front truss, pointed down into the center of the stage.
Flew, mean hung them?
Yeah, hung them off the corner of the truss.
Okay.
These things had 4 12s, 4 10s, 2 compression drivers, and 4 tweeters in them.
Okay.
And the Who used to use 2 of them right over the top of Daltrey, pointed straight down.
Oh, wow, for his monitor.
These things were, I wish I had a couple of them right now.
Except they weighed a ton, I'm sure.
They were a little heavy.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to start doing monitor
So then,
mixing.
I'm using these things. I'm like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
And learning frequencies. After that, I went out with Rossend and Collins, the Skinnerd guys.
Yeah.
That first comeback.
Right after
that.
Plane accident, right.
And the monitor guy for them, John Badenhop, he would make me stand out on stage, and he would make it feed back. He'd grab these and just keep it feeding back until I give him the right answer.
Until you figure it out. Right. Yeah.
You get to learn pretty quick what's what.
In all those situations, so you're still at the show. It's not like we finish, we're going to go back to the hotel and rest or whatever. You
do sound check.
You do everything. Yeah, right.
You go eat dinner, go to the bus, chill for an hour, come back. And I was doing monitors for a 38 special. They had 2 drummers. That was a blast.
Yeah.
We did a show at the Omni in Atlanta on New Year's Eve. I never saw so many Confederate flags, people throwing firecrackers off the top.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned a bunch of bands already. We should also throw in Boston, James Taylor, Julian Lennon, Peter Tosh. Of course, Clapton you go on tour with like a few times, right?
Yeah.
Was he the most?
Yeah, I think it was the artist that I worked the most amount of years.
As a bass player, did you speak to Nathan East ever?
Oh yeah.
Or I mean, how was
when they wouldn't do a sound check, I would pick. He would let me play.
He would,
yeah, for the line check and stuff. So it's like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah, pretty nice guy.
Great guy.
How was Clapton? I mean, everybody's going to ask you these types of questions.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah,
he was great.
I mean,
what do you say? You know, it's like, and then Duck Dunn.
Oh yeah,
in '85. He was the bass player. Before Nathan, he was the bass player.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Okay. So Donald Duck Dunn was part of the Wrecking Crew, and he was
part of the Tulsa Time Band.
Yeah, right.
When Jamie Oldacre was playing drums.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So those guys, that's what I had a good time with them.
Yeah, and you can see him obviously in the Blues Beaters.
Them.
Yeah, no, he doesn't play in the Blues Beaters. That's Antoine. But the Blues Brothers movie, obviously, he's the guy with the big fro that plays bass and smokes the.
We had a good time on that tour.
Yeah.
He had he played a Mesa stuff.
Mesa Boogie.
Yeah.
Is the right term roadie for what you do or did?
Did.
Yeah.
I think, and then once the mixing started, then you consider to be an engineer.
Right. Front of house ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How'd that go?
I loved it.
I mean, it's got to be super stressful.
I did Dwight Yoakam front of house.
All right.
I had a blast.
And how does that happen on the road? Like, is it a graduation thing? Like, okay, we're going to give you a shot, or are you training during sound checks or what?
It's just being around it through osmosis. You just pick it up.
Yeah.
Front of house. Yeah, you can tell the difference sometimes. Like with my mixes, front of house has more clarity. I call it clarity because when I'm checking monitors, I have a certain amount of 3K in the mic that cuts through Marshalls and all this other jazz.
Right.
But it still doesn't hurt your ears.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So you can hear yourself.
Right.
And
then what I had to do on Dwight was I had to put a graphic and a compressor on his vocal because the yodeling he would do was all 3K. All that. And you push up 3K on the sidechain on a DBX, and no matter how hard he hits that, it doesn't rip your ears out.
Right. Yeah. You're not the only guy in town that did front of house too, right? Didn't Jim Moran?
Yeah.
For Huey,
Yeah,
right?
Huey.
Yep. Did you ever run into him or know him?
No,
or?
I never ran into before he.
Yeah. It's just wild that, it's got to be a very unique job, especially front of house.
Yeah, it is. It's satisfying, though.
It is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dwight, there was some, I can't remember. I was mainly a system engineer a lot of times for like Level 42. They had their own front of house guy, but I would help him mix a lot of the shows. He had 2 Yamaha consoles set up.
That's some crazy bass in Level 40.
Oh, Mark King.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, that's...
I got some board tapes you ought to listen to.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I bet.
He's slapping it.
Oh, man, he is.
Big time.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you who was odd was Diana Ross. She hated bass. She hated
the tones,
low end.
Low ends.
The low, just because to a point, I get it because she doesn't listen to the music from that era. It doesn't have a lot of 50, 60. We did Garden State Arts Center in New Jersey, and the guy that was front of house, I was the system guy. He slept in, and that room it's terrible. It's terrible. So I put in the PA that I thought would work in that room for her show.
Yeah.
He comes in, he's like, my God, get the truck back in here. There isn't enough bass cabinets in here. You didn't put up enough 18s. I'm like, dude, trust me.
Had you worked with her already?
I'd been in that room. I had been in that room with multiple other bands.
Yeah.
And because we're at front of house, it's like a dome. It's like there's no parallel surfaces, so the decay time is like horrendous.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
After the show, the first few songs, he looks at me, he's like, you were right.
Yeah.
You don't need low end in here. It's naturally occurring.
Did you encounter that a lot where you had gone back to multiple venues that you had been to and then you're like, oh, I know what's going on in this place. It's set up here or there.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there was a weird one on that Wishbone Ash tour I was talking about in France. It was an old World War II airplane hangar.
Oh, yeah.
Concrete, and it looked like an igloo.
Okay.
But
super
real long.
Yeah, right.
The kick drum is still swimming in that place. I'm telling you. But I was doing monitors, and so I'm up there, and Steve's playing the drums, and I'm EQing in front of John, JB, good guy, Mixed Bag Company. He comes up, and he's like, words of wisdom. He's like, forget it, man. All you can do in here is get the speakers as close as you possibly can to their heads, because if you get too far away, forget it. You'll never hear it.
Right. What was biggest venue?
Biggest?
Yeah, that you ever worked in?
Probably the stadiums. Or that Pope. The sound
tell
for
us
the
about
Pope.
the Pope. We forgot about the Pope.
Outside of San Antonio.
Yeah, well, how did that happen?
That was, we got a call, and what was that, 86? Or something like that?
87, yeah. Yeah, you were like around 30 years old, right?
Yeah.
And
we had just come out with the prison. Anyway, we got a call for reinforcement. Can you guys do this? I don't know how it all came about.
The Pope was like speaking. He was visiting the U.S.
And he was on a tour actually, and that in that area of the country happened to be in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So it was just nothing but a huge field.
Okay.
Out in wherever. Some farm field, like it could have been Woodstock. Who knows?
Right. But tons of people.
A lot of people, 250K, something like that. But we had to take all the speakers out, and they had dogs, and they had mirrors inside looking around the boxes and stuff. And
they probably did background checks and everything on everybody.
Oh yeah. We had to go. When we went back for the show, we had to get up at 2 a.m. to get through to security and get the mics all set up. Matter of fact, the one of he had 2 lavaliers or 2 podium mics. One went out. I got the call on the radio. You got to go up there and replace that mic. All right. Well, you need the Vatican guy to go with you. All right.
And wait, is the Pope speaking?
He's speaking.
Oh,
He's
so
speaking.
it goes out in the middle of him speaking.
Yeah. So it's like, but you can still hear him, but he's only on one mic.
Okay.
Okay.
But there's 200,000 people.
But you want that backup.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I grab another one. I mean, the scaffolding, the stage is huge. It's like 50 feet, and then another. It's probably where he is probably 75 feet off the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the PA and everything else. But I had to get Guido to go with me.
Yeah.
He was
just like bodyguard for
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just making sure, and I didn't actually change it. I had to give it to another guy who had a robe on.
Sure. Gotcha. Yeah.
So, hey, Pope soap on a rope, man.
Yeah, right. That's about as close as anybody's going to get to the Pope.
I got about 25 feet away from
Yeah.
it. That was enough.
That's wild.
Okay. That was good. That was good.
You travel,
I felt blessed. My parents are like, oh.
Oh, yeah. I read it about it in the Erie paper. I was all right, all the things that this guy's done, and they want to talk about him being that close to the Pope. So you travel around. So give me your favorite tour, and with who, and why?
Okay, probably Eric.
Okay,
he takes care of people.
Yeah,
really. We stayed in all the best hotels.
Oh, and that's up to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Right. Got a free set of Halliburton luggage out of the deal.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
The one down the night that Stevie Ray Vaughan was killed, that was tough.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was doing the monitors.
You were there for that gig?
Yeah, I got the last song, "Sweet Home Chicago."
Oh,
I got a tape.
And then he flies away.
And then we're doing the loadout, and I got done loading my part of the truck, and Mick Double comes and he's like, "We haven't heard something. We lost contact with the one helicopter."
Wow.
And there you go.
Was that the only time?
That was weird because that night, it was 2 nights up at Alpine Valley.
Yeah, right.
That second night, we were on the bus after dinner, and we didn't have to do a sound check because we did a show the night before. So we're just on the bus chilling, and Stevie comes on the bus. He's like, that album he made with his brother was just coming out, and he had a video of them working together in the studio, and he's like, "Do you mind if I play this on your VCR?" Lee, Dixon, we were sitting, "Yeah, go ahead, put it in."
Yeah.
It was just really
very
cool.
Yeah.
He was just another guy.
Yeah, right. He was a young dude too at that point. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
This was when it finally had gotten sober and clean.
Right. What was this, 87? Something like that?
Oh, 90.
Or I'm sorry, yeah.
1990.
Okay. All right.
And so here we are, and Stevie's sitting across from me watching this video, and 8 hours later, he's gone.
Yeah, right. That's not one of the better ones to remember. Biggest acts, you said Clapton, him. Did you ever, I saw a picture of you in a shirt like that Showco one you have on. Was it at the Warner? Did you ever come back to Erie?
Yeah,
working?
I did some shows. I did at Dillon in 91 down there.
Okay.
But that was a Clare Brothers gig. But the Moody Blues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that must have been kind of cool to come back to.
Yeah. Phil and those guys all come down to the show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Popotnik brothers.
Yeah. Oh dear. But, it was interesting.
It was interesting.
I wouldn't trade it. I don't have any regrets. I didn't save a dime, but I don't care. I don't. Right?
When did you leave? When did you leave
93.
93. You come back to Erie? Okay. And we talked earlier.
Well, actually, that was when I did my last tour with him.
Okay. All right.
But I had moved back in 92.
Okay. And then all those...
It became a problem flying out of Erie.
Oh, really? I can't imagine.
Right? Yeah.
Well, let's bring this back to you as a musician. So all those years you're on the road, you're probably not... You're just jamming a little bit here and there.
I wasn't playing any serious.
Right. How do you get back into, because I know in the early 90s you play in Midnight Blue. for a little while with Jim Madden and Kurt Keith and Dave Galando.
Yeah.
And that was like a jazz thing, right?
Yeah, that was out at the bar.
Yeah, right.
So
just a regular gig.
Yeah, it was weird. Actually, I was actually longing to make a change.
Okay.
And actually, I was trying a geographical cure too for some other things.
Gotcha. All right.
So that being said, that worked.
Okay. Yeah. Was that the first musician or music project?
Yes, that was the first time I had picked up an instrument and got serious about it.
Yeah.
In, 18 years? Okay. Yeah.
And where does it go from there? I mean, because obviously Matty B doesn't come along for a little while.
Yeah.
Who else did you play with?
Just with some local guy. Paul Olson, he teaches over here.
Paul Olson's a great keyboard player.
Yeah.
He was there the night I think you and I met, right? At the JPT Foundation.
Yes.
Right, he played that night.
His brother's really
good.
Right. Really, that's about it.
Okay.
You know? I mean, I was just playing a lot on my own, practicing.
Right.
Playing with Jim. I was playing an upright.
Oh.
With him.
Okay.
And there was a shop up on Grandview. I rented a bass from him.
Okay. All right.
And that's what a pickup.
Had you played upright bass before?
No.
Okay.
But it was cool.
Cool. I mean, I'm a crappy bass player. I couldn't even think of being like, I think I'm just going to pick up the upright bass today. I mean, clearly you have some skills that were latent, hanging out.
Transferring this to that.
Right.
I mean, the stretch is a little more, but sure.
Right. And
it worked. I had fun.
And Jim's no slouch at all. I mean, he's a great jazz player.
Great.
So that must have been quite a switch for you.
It was. It was. I enjoyed it.
Cool. It's challenging.
Really, really did.
And then how does Matty B come along? How does that whole gig come along?
Oh, that was through Dave Van Eyck.
Okay.
And Phil.
Okay. So they said.
That was that back out at the Bel Air. Hey, I walked in one night and they're like, hey, Dave Blates was like, hey, man, you want to see that? Yeah, okay.
So this is Marty O'Connor and Friends?
That was after Marty.
Okay. All right.
After Marty.
Yeah. Oh, when Dave's there and gotcha. Right. Yeah.
And Dave Blates, another great guy. Jeez, man.
Yep.
Next thing I know, Dave has Matty come one night. We started talking. He's like, hey, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that.
And you that's not jazz.
It's a whole different thing.
It is. Yeah. I mean, 50s stuff even.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun music.
How long you been doing that now?
And that's a couple of years.
Yeah.
So actually 3.
All right. And so these days, that's the only thing cooking for you right now.
Yeah.
But you just retired, so what the hell?
I'm chilling.
That's right.
Phil called me. He's like, hey, can you come out to the Edinburgh Arts Festival Sunday? Yeah, what?
Right.
You need some mixing? Yeah. So I still work with him.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Jazz and blues, I'll be down there.
All right.
I help Vanco.
Cool. All right. Well, that's cool. I appreciate you telling us all that stuff. I'm going to take some pictures of these really great pictures you brought us and show folks. It's quite a life that you've lived, the one that's very unique compared to a lot of the other folks that I've had on. So, yeah.
Julian Lennon.
Yeah, tell me about Julian Lennon.
That was scary, man. There were some nights he sounded just like his dad.
Yeah.
It'd give you shivers up your spine.
Yeah.
But he was so young, and they were all young. They were only 20, 21 years old.
Right.
And they'd stay up all night. And you can't do 12 shows in a row and stay up every night.
Yeah.
And he would look over, and I'm like, dude, I can't give you any more.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as gain for free. Sing. Oh, man.
And those were probably his last tours, because he really didn't tour much after a lot,
he didn't.
right?
Not after that.
Yeah.
No. It was 80. I did the 86. Johnny did the 85 tour. And after that,
I'll only ask you about one, Boston. I mean, that had to be,
I was assistant system guy on that.
Okay. And Brad Delp still singing?
He was still singing.
Okay, so it's him and Schultz, and then is Fran playing drums? or Sibs playing drums and Franz playing.
But Gary wasn't in the band anymore. The guy from
Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, right. Okay. But
still, they smoked it every night.
That's what I wondered. Yeah. I mean,
you know what? I'll tell you what.
That's why I mean, he's a sound guy. That's why I wondered how it was playing or working with Tom Schultz.
It was, when you talk sound, there was a consistent sound on that.
Really?
Every night.
Yeah.
You look at the graph, the equalizers out front, those equalizers were EQ'd to his guitar. That guitar sound was, you had to EQ the PA to that guitar. And if you did that, everything else just fell right into place.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah, pays to have a guy that's a sound engineer himself, I guess, doing that.
That was unique.
I bet. All right, well, good. Well, I appreciate you sharing all this stuff with me, and hopefully this brought back some good memories.
Yeah, it was fun. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to Season 6 of the Erie Music History Podcast. Just a reminder that I do host a music night on the first Tuesday of the month at the JPT Foundation's Events Center. It's on West 38th Street in the plaza that's next to Our Lady of Peace Church. Starts from 6 o'clock, goes till 9 o'clock, totally free. BYO everything. You can bring in alcohol, food. There's a great pizza shop next door. There's a Subway in the plaza. We, of course, have our house band, the Fabulous Leftovers. They play for an hour, and then usually we open it up to an open mic, or we have some other prearranged acts that follow the Leftovers from probably around 7:15, 7:20 till 9 o'clock. So check that out, first Tuesday of the month. Thank you to the JPT Foundation for continually supporting this podcast. I appreciate it. Also, thanks to my buddy Angelo Phillips, who also threw us a few bucks for helping support the podcast. I appreciate that. You can go to Patreon if you'd like to contribute, or there's a Venmo also. You can find all of the episodes right now on any of the platforms that you listen to podcasts on. I have not been updating the actual website for the podcast, but you can also see the photos of the people that I interview for each episode on Facebook under Erie Music History Podcast. All right, thanks a lot.